KEF Connect. Conversations that matter. Tune in every week for interviews with industry trendsetters and community changemakers that will instill inspiration and ignite action. Visit www.kefholdings.com and click KEF Connect to listen.
All right, so I'm sure you guys have seen the previous episodes, but this one is a little bit different. This is season 4 of So Money under KEF Connect. My name is Aida Al Busaidy, and this podcast series is one that makes a difference, connecting listeners to the trendsetters and trailblazers, creating an impact in their industries and communities. Now, today is a very special guest. We've spoken to women, to CIOs, to teens, to my babies, kids, and some key opinion leaders and content creators. But today we have Mona Kattan with us, as I would like to call her, Moni. Sounds like money, but not really. So Mona, who is not only a dear friend, she is described as the co-founder and global president of one of the fastest growing global cosmetic conglomerates, Huda Beauty, Kayali fragrances, and Wishful Skincare. And also, there is an arm called the Huda Beauty Investments. However, a lot of people do know you, Mona, as someone who's a reality TV star, Facebook TV, Facebook Watch, an influencer.
Oh my God, I kind of regret that.
A model, and this just lots of different things as well. But they also associate Huda Beauty, yourself, and Huda and the family as billionaires as well. So because we're talking about money today, let's start with, how was your childhood? Because I know your story, but I think people need to know that.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for the beautiful intro. And Aida, I love you so much. And just, I'm so grateful for you having me on this podcast and just doing everything with me. I love you. So thank you for the intro. I love you so much. You know, our childhood was really interesting. We started from extremely humble beginnings. Like, everybody has a misconception of us, especially in the US and in the UK. They kind of think that we come from like some rich Arab parents and that we've had our whole lives kind of prepared for us. And they think that we just had a rich dad to invest in our company. But that couldn't be farther from the truth, you know. I got my first job at the age of 14, you know, and I worked in a restaurant. And I did everything. I think I've been a hustler ever since I was a child. And it's always been for the love of being productive and for wanting to feel like I can contribute to my life and other people's lives. So I've been like that since I was a kid. And same goes for Huda. But we grew up in the U.S. My parents immigrated from Iraq to the U.S. My father was studying at the time. And they just wanted us to have a better future, a westernized future. And a really good education. So they moved us there, but we had a really interesting childhood. Our parents are very different.
Yes.
You know my dad really well.
I do. Daddy cool.
He's obsessed with you, as everybody is. But, you know, my dad's very pro-education, very modern. He's also a workaholic to his core.
Yeah.
Like,
and he's known as a doctor as well. So that's, I mean, I think that's
5 degrees, 6 degrees. I can't even keep up, to be honest. He has like his PhD, like 3 masters, I think 2 bachelors. So he's obsessed with education, productivity, just being productive. And he's like still a workaholic to this day, you know, mashallah, but bit too much.
Yeah.
My mom, on the other hand, is like this really big ball of love and just super loving, super kind, super simple.
Yeah.
And she's a bit religious and a bit conservative. Yeah. But, you know, they raise us to be hardworking, kind people. And I think until today, that's something that we have really strong in our DNA through all the brands that we work on, as well as just our human connection we have with everyone. And I think that, you know, everything that we went through in our childhood, like the simple, humble beginnings, really did define what we're doing today with Huda Beauty, just our core values. So it's been interesting. I mean, I could talk all day, so just tell me if I'm oversharing.
No, I like it. But you know what I also want the listeners and the viewers as well, because this is being recorded on video, is, you know, when people say we came from humble beginnings, I don't think they realize that it's also tough as much as it's rewarding. I mean, they see the rewards right now because you are on screen. Yeah. You know, you are in our homes, essentially, in our living rooms, you know, in our bathrooms or wherever you put your makeup and your, you know, your fragrances. But it has been tough,
Yeah.
and maybe it will be really difficult, maybe interesting, to talk about where maybe one or two incidents where money was tough for the family, and how did that overcome? Was it something that your dad maybe had taught you, or maybe through your business growth and entrepreneurship that you've seen some difficulties as well? Because I really want people to have that perspective of, yes, you can have money, you need to know how to make it, you need to know how to save it, you need to know how to invest it, but most of all, it's not just to chase it, what I mean?
Right, of course. Well, I would say that my entire life, my childhood, up until I moved to Dubai when I was 17, I had my basics covered, so I never had to worry about like my parents paying their rent or like paying for their mortgage or putting food on the table. Like, alhamdulillah, like that was something that was always there. But it was more like the non-essentials. And my father told me since I was a kid, he's like, everything you need I can give you, but anything you want, you've got to get it on your own.
I like that.
Or just be happy with what you have. And I was like, you know what? I want more. I'm going to get it myself.
Yeah.
And I've always had that mentality. And I'm actually really grateful that my father wasn't able to just give me everything I wanted, because it put that mentality in my mind, and it solidified it that if everything I want to get, I can get it myself. I just have to figure out a way to work hard enough and smart enough to achieve whatever it is. So honestly speaking, even though it was tough to not just be able to go on vacations and buy all the fanciest things that my friends had, or even have fancy cars, like, when I was growing up, I'm really happy, because I'm like, if I had a father who could have given me a comfortable life, like just the basics that were like cool, like buy me nice bags and get me a car, I probably wouldn't have worked so hard, and I definitely wouldn't be where I am right now, like 1,000%. That's for sure. But up until we moved to Dubai, just affording above the necessities was tough on my dad. He always hid it from us, to be honest. Like he always stretched things really hard for himself, but he never showed it to us. My brother, who's 10 years older than me, he used to work and help my parents with the bills, and same goes for Ali. I think they had it a little bit more challenging than we did. Actually, they had it a lot more challenging than we did.
Because you're the baby of the family.
Yeah, I'm the baby. So I have to say, like, Huda and myself, we had it a little bit easier growing up, because my father had also built himself a little bit more by the time we were born. But he was a professor in the U.S., and, being an Arab American, you don't get paid as much. People were always a little bit, discriminatory, because he had a thick accent as well. And, he had 5 kids on like one salary with taxes, like forget about it. That's it. So, it's really just, you can only provide the essentials. But when we moved to Dubai, things changed. First of all, like, his salary was tax-free. And that's when, we had a little bit more of a comfortable life. But I also think that moving to Dubai really changed my perspective in like a million ways. And it's just been so inspiring being here, just seeing the country grow, seeing the UAE grow, and just seeing how business savvy people are. Like, people are obsessed with business and creativity here. So I think that just moving here was a huge part of our journey and everything that we've built.
So I want to ask a question about HB, but here's a bit of a controversial question. Do you think you would have started Kayali without HB? Would you have gone ahead anyways?
Actually, I was working on creating a fragrance brand before Huda Beauty even existed, to be super honest. And I started working on ideas back in 2011 or 2010. And I even still have some samples from labs that I reached out to just work on ideas and fragrances. Having said that, it definitely wouldn't have been as successful, I'm sure. And I'm so grateful it didn't work out. I actually approached many of the locally really well-known business families here in the fragrance industry. I don't want to name names, but I met a lot of people.
I think I know some of
them. And I met a lot of people. People were interested. I also met other perfume brands and asked them if they wanted to create a sub-brand for me. But every single time it just didn't work out. And I really believe in, every delay has a blessing. Yes. So I'm so grateful it didn't happen then. But being under the umbrella of Huda Beauty has been really helpful. But I also think that I needed this time in my life to really understand how to be a founder of a global brand, because it's very different to creating a business, creating a restaurant, a beauty salon, an agency. It's very different to creating a brand and wanting it to have a vision that will live beyond you. So I think that this was perfect timing.
Okay. I like that. So now I'll step back because I really want people to understand that there is a difference, and you've pointed out that difference. How did Huda Beauty start? I think for some of us veterans who've been here a while, we did see that. And I remember actually having met you way before the lashes came out. So I know that Huda Beauty might have probably not come had it not been out of necessity during a certain period of time. So take it away, Mona.
Well, Huda Beauty first started when Huda created the blog. Yes. So before it wasn't even a brand, to be super honest. And initially, we didn't even have the idea of creating a product. Initially, I was working in PR at the time. It was when I left my career in investment banking. I started a PR agency. It was me and my best friend, and we didn't know what we were doing, but I was just like, let me get into this. And at the time, that was when blogs were blowing up. You know, everybody was creating blogs, and I was like, Huda, you need to start a blog to help get your profile out there, to share your knowledge with the world. And Huda was really excited. She did it that same night. I was like, I'm not leaving your house until you start it today. Just start it and just get the ball rolling. And she's like, I haven't done this before, but she was just a natural. Yeah. Like, she's always been a person who loves to share information. Like, when she finds something that she loves, she talks about it nonstop. She's very passionate. So it was really a great fit for her, and she created the blog. And that was for 3 years before we even launched the product, to be honest. The product came out of just people asking for it. So actually, I remember it was one of our mutual friends, Selva Galadari. Yes. She was like, where can I get your sister's lashes? And I was like, you can't. And I remember I was like, Huda makes her lashes herself, because she actually used to cut different lashes and paste them together with lash glue and everything. And I remember I'd repeatedly hear that question from a lot of people. Most of them are mutual friends. Some of them are her clients. And sometimes we would just see that on the comments on the blog. And I was like, why do I keep hearing this question? I feel like it's, the universe, God trying to give me a sign, like, pay attention. I always feel like when you hear something repeatedly, it's like, it's a sign, Yeah. So I was like, a good sign. Yes, it's a good sign. Yeah. So at the time, it was also after I had already launched my beauty salon. So I had experience of creating a business. And I realized through that it really isn't rocket science. Yeah. It's not. It's hard, and I'm not taking credit away from any business owner. It's hard work. Yeah. But it's not impossible, and I realized it's a lot easier than it seems. Yeah. So I pitched the idea to Huda. I was like, do you want to create a lash brand? And she initially was like, what? Because she had no business experience at the time. And I also had very minimal. And she's like, are you sure this is even feasible? And I was like, listen, I'll find the manufacturer. We'll figure it out. She was like, if we do it, it has to be in Sephora. Like, she had a vision from day one. She wanted to launch in Sephora, Dubai Mall. Yes, Dubai Mall. She actually specifically said that. She's like, I need to launch there. And, it just kind of went from there. And to be honest, I just searched on the internet. I remember going to the web, searching lash manufacturers nonstop for days, weeks, and trying to beg all of them to work with us. It took a long time, but we ended up finding the world's top manufacturer, and we begged them to work with us, and they did.
and I think what I get from this part of what you just said right now is vision, passion, and consistency. The problem with a lot of things that are failing, especially when it comes to wealth creation, wealth maintenance, and wealth consumption, is that there isn't consistency. So people are not willing. If you take a break and say, oh, somebody else is going to do it, or something better is going to come along, I feel that that's where a lot of people kind of falter, right? And I know how passionate you are about perfumes. I was like, this is like walking into a store.
You have to come over again, by the way. There's hundreds more, maybe 1,000 more since the last time you came.
It's so difficult. I don't know how else to add to your collection, because I feel like you have everything. So if I walk in there, probably take something from the Mona collection. So there's an interesting question. I think you saw this before we came on. Is with wealth comes fame. There also comes some criticism, and there also might come sometimes some emotional disconnect that's not related to happiness. Do you think money brings you happiness?
1000% no. Like, I don't even have any doubts about that. And to be super honest, I knew this way before I even acquired any form of wealth. You know, I knew this back in, like, I think it was 2005 or 6. I actually went through like a mini depression, and I bought this book called Fast Track to Happiness because I was obsessed with happiness. And I was like, how can I be happy when I'm so depressed? And I remember reading a stat in there that never like left my head, but it was something like anybody who achieves above like an average of 60,000 pounds salary per year, like from all the research, once you're above that level, like any increase in money will not make a difference in your happiness because you're covering your essentials. So of course it's different country to country based on like the cost of living, but if you can pay your rent, pay for your food, and you don't have to worry about the basic needs, any addition of money will not make you any happier. Period. Like 1000%. And I know that from myself too. Like there's nothing that I've added to my closet, to my anything, my life, my house, my anything, even traveling, like hasn't made me happier.
That's a very interesting point. I didn't mean to cut you off, but like I think I really want you to stress on that again, because I think a lot of people
don't chase it.
Don't chase it.
Don't chase it. And that's, you know, I was actually going to mention something earlier because you were saying, you know, when you think of like Huda Beauty, Kayali, et cetera, you're saying it comes from like passion, consistency. It's all because it's coming from the desire to create rather than to chase money. If you get into a business to chase money, don't do it. You're in the wrong industry, unless you're a banker. Okay, if you're in the finance industry and you're actually, your commodity is money, then okay, that's fine. But if you're trying to create a restaurant and the intention of creating the restaurant is to make millions of dollars, forget about it. You're never going to create something spectacular because the intention has to come from serving, from creating something different. It has to come from like a really strong conviction of doing something better for the industry and disrupting. You need to be obsessed with what you're doing. If you're not obsessed with what you're doing, you're probably not going to sustain your success. It's easy to launch something and be successful for launch. It's hard to grow and it's hard to sustain that. That's why most businesses shut down. They launch, they're excited, oh, I'm doing well, because all your friends are supporting you, your neighbors are supporting you, but get beyond that, that's hard.
That's the hard work, Have you faced any financial losses since you started?
All the time. All the time.
Is there one that you could talk about that
you know,
really kind of shook you?
I mean, there are a lot. And I know you know about some of them.
I'm letting you, the mic is yours. So.
You know, I've made a lot of mistakes. And I still do all the time.
And so you should.
Of course you should. If you're not making enough mistakes, you're not doing enough. And of course you need to be careful. You don't want to make too many mistakes to where they're going to cripple you. But I think that you need to learn from them all and jump right up. I mean, there's been so many. I mean, obviously with one of my businesses, which I've shared with you before, you know, I don't think that my partner and I did enough diligence before expanding and understanding the true cost. And I think we underestimated things a lot, which led to many losses in that particular business, which was unfortunate. But, you know, in Huda Beauty, same, you know, we've gone through situations where we've approved product and production, and literally one mistake can cost you millions of dollars. Like not 100,000 dirhams, I mean millions of dollars have been on just one product. And that's happened many times. So it's something that you just have to realize will happen. Be careful, because obviously you could go bankrupt. It's not something where, you know, you can just think of it so lightly. You have to learn every single time. And you know, thankfully we've grown slow. We didn't grow fast. People think we've grown fast, but we actually haven't, you know?
And I also think because I think they track the products rather than tracking the industry or the company. Because you are disruptive, right? I mean, you're competing against global brands. You're not competing against something that's local. So I guess when you have older brands, older than you, and it will be newer brands after you as well. It's just putting that into perspective. And I think a lot of people don't realize you have to do comparative analysis. You mentioned doing due diligence as well. So when they just see product launches, I think in their minds it's like, oh, here's another lipstick, or here's another. I don't think they realize that
it's like years of work. Years and years. Honestly, with every product that we launch, on average, it's 2 to 3 years. On average.
On average, yeah.
Like, it's a lot of work, lots of investment goes into every single product because we always create new formulas, new packaging. It's never like, stock anything.
Yeah.
And
you test it yourselves as well.
We do.
Yeah.
And on you.
Yeah, and me. I'm actually
on all my
I'm
good
sponsored-
friends, all my best friends.
I'm sponsored by Huda Beauty today,
Yeah.
and Wishful too. So Huda Beauty.
But honestly, I rely on my best friends
Yeah.
and my family and people like you who I hold very dear to me, and I trust your advice. Like, we test it on everybody because any mistake is a huge mistake. When you're a global player, like, it's
And it's not just your brand, it's your name. So everything else that's associated with it also then goes
absolutely
into shambles.
yeah. So you have to be super careful. So
Yeah.
I've made a lot of mistakes. We continue to make a lot of mistakes. It sucks, and sometimes you do get really bent out of shape. I mean, I remember originally when I had some big mistakes in more of the beginning of my career, I thought of giving up. I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I'm a moron. I don't know. You start to second guess yourself, but I think it's really important not to dwell and to just pick yourself up and just realize even the most incredible people who've achieved so much success, whether it's business success or just life impact success, whatever you want to call it, they've made repeated mistakes, and that's why they are amazing. You can't contribute, you can't give an impact if you're just doing what everybody else is doing, and 100%. If you're not doing what everybody else is doing, you're making a lot of mistakes.
A lot of mistakes as well.
Yeah.
So you talked about, obviously, we support you by trying the product, etc. But there are days where you might be down, you need assistance. What's your ecosystem like? Who do you talk to? Whether it's from a professional business perspective, because the difficult thing about this particular situation is your business is your family. So how does it work?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I talk to a lot of people. I talk to myself a lot. And we'll
talk about that in a bit.
To be super honest, I feel like journaling and speaking to yourself is actually where you get the most clarity. But then I do go to people especially Huda. I speak to Huda a lot. Yeah. She is super wise. She's also the opposite of me. So I feel like we both really value each other's feedback because we're very different. I also speak to life coaches, business coaches. I do a lot of therapy.
You do a lot of reading too.
I do. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I'm obsessed with reading. I listen to a lot of podcasts.
For the young people watching and listening to this, reading is essential. If you're Muslim or speak Arabic, the first word that was revealed was iqra. So
yes.
The fact that you're saying that, because I think, again, it's the persona. They're rich and they're business owners and she's famous. It actually comes with so many other things.
I want to laugh every time you say that.
But it's true. But again, it's
I don't think of these things ever.
But the perception versus the reality is also something that's very core to people. And I think, and from judging from our conversations and having known you for so long, is that you sense check that quite a bit. You constantly go back, and I love it because sometimes I see stuff and I feel like I needed it, and you just spoke my mind in a way, and I feel, yes, I needed that, because you need that reminder sometimes, and you need that reading sometimes. So it's not always glitz and glam. So it's important.
No, for sure. I mean, I feel the same way about you. All the time when you're posting things, I'm like, yes, Aida.
Preach.
Well, yes, exactly. But yes, I love to read, and I know you love to read too. Yeah. I mean, I think that reading has been a huge part of my journey personally, and also Huda's journey, and my whole family. We're all big readers. I wouldn't be where I am right now if I wasn't obsessed with learning about other people's stories and also just reading. I got into self-development at the age of 13. Nice. Tony Robbins was my jam and still is my jam, but he also taught me, modeling. You've got to model other people's scenarios to learn how to create your own. So it's really important to learn from others, and that's why I love listening to anyone talk. I'm like, what can I learn from you?
I hope a lot of people are going to listen to this. They're going to learn from it.
I hope so too.
So I have a question about community. So, I mean, this podcast is very much related to communities, and we're trying to reach people in so many different ways, from kids age 6, my Zayed. You have to watch that that episode, by the way. All the way to college students who are just kind of trying to figure out their lives, to CIOs, to women who've made it big. What have you done for the community? I'd like to hear it from a Mona perspective, because as a person, I think you have quite a lot of, you give back quite a bit,
thank you.
So it's not necessarily always in the spoken word, but there's also gestures that people do, which I think a lot of people don't realize, that you know, you give to kind of get, but you don't expect anything back, which I think is interesting. But also from an HB perspective, because you've done quite a bit for the community that a lot of people also don't realize. So let's start with Mona first, and then HB.
I mean, it's interesting you say that, because I never feel like I'm giving enough, and I always feel guilty. Like, I live in guilt, you know? Like, I just literally always am like, how can I give more? How can I help more? What can I do? I think that comes from my parents, because they're both very generous, like very generous. Even my entire life, so when we were having, you know, our own struggles, my parents still made a point to donate to charity, to help people. Like, there was never a chance if somebody asked for something, my parents wouldn't try to help. So I think that I feel like they make me look really bad.
From the outside, as again, I'll tell you from a perspective of, I always try to put myself out of the conversation, because I feel that if it's my opinion, it's too biased. But take yourself out of the situation. Yeah. You do a lot. The problem is, I think, if you sit down at the end of the day and you write down all the things that you've done, that's when you realize it weighs on you, and you're like, oh my God, alhamdulillah. Like, I managed to do this much, you know?
Alhamdulillah.
So, yeah.
You know, from like a charity perspective, of course, we've donated lots of money. But to me, that's not the most important thing. I think what's been most rewarding are two things. Like, number one has been giving people their dream jobs. Like, for me, that was like the most rewarding feeling ever. Like, to hear people say like they love their job, like, and feel valued, feel satisfied, and we're paying them well. Like, to be able to pay people well, that was like, I remember there was a turning point where we were like paying people just enough to get them to stay with us, to where we could finally afford to pay them market and above. I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. That just blew my mind. I was amazing. Like, I can't believe we're able to give people amazing packages. So that really made me happy. But number two is just being an inspiration for young girls. Like, I've heard people say, like, you've, you know, made their younger children, their daughters, their sisters want to be their own businesswomen. And like, instead of looking for a man to take care of them, they're like, we want to be our own boss. And I'm like, yes, that to me was like, gives me chills. Like, that to me is the most rewarding feeling. And to be honest, that's the reason why we did our reality show in the very beginning. Like, because me and Huda were going back and forth forever, and we're like, should we do it? Should we not? And, you know, in the end of the day, we did it, because we're like, sorry, there's a little fruit pie. And we'll edit all that part. It's okay, leave it. In the end of the day, like, we decided to do our reality show because Huda was like, who does Noor have to look up to? Who does, you know, so-and-so have to look up to? Like, all the reality stars out there, you know, for the most part, are trying to teach young girls that you have to sell your body, that you have to do this to get whatever, you have to be trashy, you have to have a scandal. Like, let's show them that if you just work really hard and you stay passionate, you stay true to who you are, you can do whatever you want. So that was the main reason behind doing a lot of what we do. You know, and also it's a big reason why we didn't sell the company when we had the chance to just sell and retire. Like, it was like, we have so much more to do. Like, you're just scratching the surface. So much more to do. You're just like Dubai. We've just scratched the surface, you know?
Yes, exactly. Just got to Mars and beyond.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. I think, obviously, I know a little bit more about some of the charitable stuff that you've done, but I also know that you've also helped some people start up their business as well, you know? I mean, some are in progress, and others are, you know, they have kind of launched as well, which I think is equally important. And I think one thing that a lot of people also need to understand is, you know, going back to what you mentioned about wealth creation, like creating something and then the wealth will come after it, is that you need to have visions. And the anticipation of just having either a short-term or a long-term vision, it's about having a continuous vision, because where you were when you first started versus where you are today and where you'd like to go are probably two very different things.
For sure. Absolutely. I you know, it's funny because we do have, you know, HB Investments, which is our family office we created for investing in businesses, but also to help incubate brands. And so we are working on some awesome brands, which I cannot wait to share more about. Like, I'm so excited. But every single one has a huge vision, and every single one is impact related. It's like they want to disrupt the industry, they want to give back. Like, they have the same values that we have, which has been so important. Like, we get so many opportunities to just invest dumb money and just like invest to make a great return. And we're like, no,
Yeah.
like everything that we invest in has to be something that's really going to make a change and going to be good for the community, because I just, you know, again, like I believe that no increase in $1, $1 million, $1 billion even in wealth will generate any more satisfaction for myself or anyone for that matter. So we're chasing impact.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. So, okay, no, we talked business and fun stuff. What do you like to do for fun, Mona?
Oh my God, I don't even know. To be super honest,
I tried, just for the record, this is being recorded. We're not editing this out. I have tried to get Mona to do stuff to relax.
Honestly,
she's always working.
I'm not a fun person.
You are?
I'm really not. And it's bad. Like I talked to my therapist about that a lot, because before this year, actually before COVID, I never spent time on having fun. And like, I don't know if you know that like life balance wheel of like the different areas of your life. Like my entire life, I've never really given attention to fun. I think it's just the way I'm wired. I'm wired to be a workaholic. My parents, dad.
We went out to a concert once. I remember that was the one time that we went to a concert with my sister-in-law.
Which one was it?
The one where we went to, I think Katy Perry was.
You know what? You always make me have fun. I need to spend more time with you.
That was the Katy Perry one. Remember
I
when
remember that one. That was amazing.
Was it the World Cup or something?
That was really.
It was the World Cup.
Yeah, that was in Maidan, right?
In Maidan.
Maidan, yeah, I remember that. See, I occasionally have fun, but in general, I'm not.
Once a decade.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't give enough time to it.
Yeah.
I should do more, but I'm wired to be like a workaholic. And truthfully, like I didn't realize this until I did therapy, but I used to feel very guilty for having fun, because my mom would always be like, if you have free time, pray. My dad would be like, if you have free time, learn, study, work. So like my parents are like, if you have fun when we were children, and even now, they'll be like, why are you having fun? And I'm like, oh my God, I grew up with that my entire life. So like when I would just be hanging out with friends, I'd get anxiety.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh my God, what am I doing here? I need to go be productive. Like
way too much
I'd
fun.
literally be itching, like thinking, oh my gosh, I have to go home, and I'd feel guilty.
Yeah.
And it was a real problem, and it still is. I have a hard time switching off. Like I really do.
But I mean, maybe I could switch the question around. You actually are very consistent in your day as well. Like you wake up on time and you sleep on time, you work out. Like, but is that something that you like to do, or is it systematic because you have something that you need to complete by the end of the day?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I have a really crazy routine, and I stick to it. Okay, during COVID, it's gotten a little bit more relaxed, but pre-COVID, it was like military. 5:30, waking up, training immediately, breakfast at this time, like everything was scheduled by the 15-minute brackets, you know. COVID, I've been a little bit more relaxed, but I do this because I know if I don't, I'm not going to achieve what I want to achieve, period. Like, I need to be at the optimal state, physically, mentally, and just even time-wise, like just managing your minutes, if I want to do what I need to do, and otherwise I can't. Like, the moments I slack, like even Ramadan, I kind of slacked a little bit, woke up late, slept late, and I'm still trying to get back on track now. Yeah, it just wasn't as productive, and I feel like crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think it might slow down anytime soon?
I think I'll slow down if I have kids.
Okay.
Because I'll have to.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
you have to.
Like, there's no compromise. I think that, you know, if
then it's a lot.
If I decide to have children, I'll have to be a mom first.
Yeah.
You know, just like you, just like Huda.
Yeah.
You know, all my mommy role models in my life are mothers first.
Mothers first.
Everything else second. Yeah. So if I have children, I'll have to slow down. But you never know. We'll see.
Okay, so if we were gonna, I'll do some fast track questions right now. Favorite color?
Favorite color? Oh my gosh. I would say if I have to pick one, I usually say sparkles.
It's a color.
It's a color.
It's a color now.
Let's
Anything is possible.
That's it. Sparkles.
Sparkles? All right. Okay, we'll go with that. Favorite cuisine?
Cuisine, Japanese for sure.
Yummy. Favorite car?
I'm not really into cars, believe it or not. No. I just bought, so funny because Chris is selling everything he owns to buy crypto. So I bought his car from him, one of his cars. It's like, you know those vans that are kind of decked out inside?
I like that.
That have like, you know, a TV and all that.
That's pretty cool.
That's what I'm obsessed with now, and I think I'll just use that for life, but I got a really good discount. He's
favorite
so
Huda Beauty product?
Ooh, just one? Oh my God.
Just one?
Just one. I would definitely say the Demi Matte lipstick.
Nice.
Yeah, it's super
like
moisturizing.
That. I love that. Favorite Wishful product?
Wishful, the rose oil.
I
love that one.
Me too. I love that. And the scrub.
Yeah, the scrub's really good.
I'm like, and Huda's like rubbing it on her lips. I'm like, woo, yeah.
You're so
now
cute.
this is a tough one.
Oh, God.
You know what I'm going to ask
Of course.
Favorite Kayali fragrance?
Oh, my God. Honestly, Sweet Diamond for sure. Hands
Diamond.
down.
Yeah. Okay.
Hands down. Sweet Diamond's my baby. And honestly, like, I feel like Sweet Diamond started the rebirth of Kayali, because before that, it was more Huda and myself working on the brand together.
Yeah.
And so it was Deja Vu was the first scent I worked on myself, but like Sweet Diamond, the packaging, the marketing, the PR, the whole concept was me and the team.
Yeah.
Where Huda really empowered me to kind of take over and lead it. She's like, you just be the founder of it on your own. So it's been a new journey for me, and that's where I was saying, it's very different to be a business owner versus a founder of a brand, because you've got to tap into your emotions, your creativity. You've got to tap into areas that you probably didn't before. Like I had frozen so many areas of my life, so it was perfect timing. But Sweet Diamond is really the rebirth of Kayali, and you guys get ready for the next 12 months. It's going to be really fun.
I can feel it. I can feel the sparkles.
You're so cute.
If you weren't who you are today as the president and the co-founder, what would you be doing? If this was a job interview.
Like if I had a very more normal life, like a normal career?
I mean, I think you have a normal life. But if you weren't doing HB and Kayali, what would you be doing?
Honestly,
just to let everybody know, what you were doing is also normal, right?
Yeah.
Normal is different for different people.
Yeah, right.
And,
that's true.
My husband has always been like, just do something, Aida. And you said it, just do something, Aida.
Yeah.
And I'm so in love with my corporate life. Like, I love it, I feed off of it. It feeds off of me.
Yeah.
I feel like we have this relationship where I'm like, okay. But having said that, I've also started venturing into certain things because I know myself better,
Yeah.
But if you asked me today, would I do something else if I didn't have the corporate life? I'd have a couple of answers for you.
Okay.
So
yeah. So what I want to do when I retire, and what I'm actually looking into studying right now, is therapy. Okay. So even when I was a child, I was like, one day I just want to give free therapy to everyone. So when I do retire, I'll probably do that. I'll probably just become a therapist that gives free therapy to everybody who needs it. And I'm actually doing that now, but buying people sessions with other, therapists. But part 2 of my life will definitely be focused on healing people. And also, I don't want to say guiding people, because I don't want to say that, I don't want to be presumptuous and say that I have the right answers, but I want to help people find their way.
I like that. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
I'll backtrack a question, actually. I wanted to ask you this earlier. Did you and Huda think that HB was going to be as big as it is today when you first launched?
Honestly, yes and no.
Okay.
When we first started, we had just, started a blog.
Yeah.
Huda was doing pretty much everything by herself, and Aida was helping her too, and it was like a one-woman show with a blog and everything. When we started the lashes, we didn't see beyond that, to be honest. But everything really happened step by step. But at the same time, Huda and myself always thought really big. It was so funny. I stumbled across an email she sent me, I think it was in 2006, when she was studying in Michigan and I was here. And she was like, just imagine one day we're going to be working together, creating I think she said a fashion brand and taking over the world. It's we always had this vision of being women who worked together and created something big and huge and making a huge change in the world.
You have to frame that.
I actually was trying to find it on the way here, but I couldn't. So I'm going to find it and I'm going to send you a screenshot. But it was just, we always thought very big. And, we're also really obsessed with Pinky and the Brain. That's why I have a Pinky and the Brain, character on my desk, and it just reminds me.
The colors are also very much Kayali-ish. So.
That's true. Yeah, but we always had that mentality of impossible is nothing, and if anybody can achieve it, we can. And I think because the whole family is so close, like Huda, myself, Alia, Chris, like we're all just really, really close. You know, we know that together when you're united, like you really can make miracles happen. Yeah.
I'm so inspired to just do something right now.
You do something every day, Ida. I've never seen you not be busy and productive. And like,
somebody said that to me today. They're like, what time do you sleep? And I said, I actually had to think about it for a while.
You're like, when do I sleep?
What do you mean? What does sleep mean? So I want to end with like I don't want to call it inspirational, like leave off. I want people to walk away having listened or watched this particular episode with something that they can take away. Like I believe in call to actions, right? And like call to actions that are impactful, as you said as well.
Yeah.
And I think when I think of people, I think there's always, it's kind of like state and religion. You got to separate the two.
Right.
I feel the person and the business always have to be two separate things. You can come together, like when you wake up in the morning and then start that. But there's definitely, like, there is Mona and then there's everything else, right? So, you know, today you might be doing something specific on HB, tomorrow you might be doing something with Kayali. What would be your 3 takeaways as a person, you know, especially for someone, and it's not just about young people, like even for someone like me, even for people who are older, because I don't think it's time-based either. You know, you can be at any age, you know, J.K. Rowling started when she was in her 40s. So I don't think it matters if you started when you were, you know, you started working at 14 or, you know, I started working when I was 20. I think it's different for different people, right? It's just different parts of the world. So what would you say would be somebody's takeaway from a personal level? And then from a business conglomerate perspective, because I think that vision doesn't really sit with a lot of people. Like, I want to be Pinky in the Brain, but I think a lot of people are also struggling from what can I do from what I'm doing today. It could be something that they're working on today as well, or it could be something that they're wanting to work in and make an impact in that perspective.
That's a tough question because I think the answer is super deep. Yeah. And I feel like from a personal level, like everybody needs to take the time to get to know themselves and like do that work, get the therapy, do that inner search of like, what is your why? What is your personal why? What lights you up? You know, what makes you so excited that you cry? You know what I mean? Because that tells you, that's kind of like your compass of like, what is driving you in life? And then you need to figure out how you can go after that. Because I think too many people spend time just going after what everybody else is doing. And those people usually aren't even chasing the right thing either. So it's like a lot of emptiness. And I think until people really dig deep and figure out their purpose, or at least their calling, like what really drives them, they're not going to be satisfied. And they're also not going to be vibrating at that super high level where they're going to be disruptive and creating impact and really just magical. I feel like when you find your why, you become magical. When you act on it too. Of course, you can't just find it and leave it. You gotta find it, you gotta act on it, and you gotta change your life. Change is scary, and most people avoid it because they're in their comfort zone, or they're also just, they're terrified. Like sometimes, like when you feel like you know what your why is, it's almost scary sometimes. So I think that the best thing people could do, I know this is a funny thing to say on something that's all about like wealth and money, but like the best thing you could do if you really want to be wealthy is discover yourself. And it's funny because when I took a screenshot that a friend posted yesterday, and I was like, let me share this with Ida. But it was like one of my friends who is a really wealthy person, and he posted something. He was like, okay, status. So status symbols, cars, shoes, house, watch, and suits. And then wealth symbols is like time, freedom, choices, peace, living anywhere, dressing however you want. And I was like, that's not a wealth symbol. That's like living a simple life, which essentially makes you wealthy. It's like anyone can have that. You don't have to be a billionaire to do all of that. You just have to have a simple life. And I think that once you find your purpose, you stop trying to shower yourself with all these like superficial things to kind of fill you up because you already feel full from like doing things you love. I think when people are doing what they don't love, that's when they're trying to search for like the fanciest watch, shoes, car, suits, whatever.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to show off because they're empty. I think once you really discover who you are, you don't need any of that. And then you're truly wealthy. Even if you have $10 in your bank account, you're wealthy because you don't need anything.
You don't need anything else.
And you're happy and content. You know, from a professional standpoint, again, I think that work with people who create impact.
Yeah.
Everything else will follow, you know?
Because you get something from them.
Absolutely.
You get their time, you get their knowledge.
Absolutely. Yeah. And same goes for like when you're looking for a job. I think that, you know, I also think everybody watching shouldn't just glorify being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Entrepreneur to me doesn't mean you own your own business. It's a mindset. You know, 1,000%. Like, and that's the same thing we think with Huda Beauty. With everybody we recruit, they're all entrepreneurs. They're all owners. They're all bosses. They're all like go-getters. Like everybody from like the most junior person cleaning the floors and like helping with admin, they're bosses. So I think that everybody watching needs to stop being obsessed with like the title being an entrepreneur. That's why, to be honest, even for me, I'm like, do I even need to say this anymore? No, let's not glorify it. It's people are too obsessed with being that versus like being happy and being maybe there's a company that can offer you that. You know, so search if you are looking for a job or you're looking for experience, like go somewhere that has the same values you have, has the same impact you want to create, nice people.
I truly believe in that. I always say, don't chase the title. You know, you make the title doesn't make you.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that, because one thing that really resonates with me on a personal level is that when your name and your character, not your personality, not what you've done, you and your character proceed before everything else in a positive way, everything else just comes together.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I completely agree with you. And
I like that. Well,
I could talk to you forever.
I
feel like it was 5 minutes. Are you ending the show?
This podcast has to be at a certain time. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, we'll always continue, but I loved it. And
thank you.
I think even though I know and I've heard your story, and Huda's story and the whole family's story so many times before in so many different ways, there's always something else that you can always discover. And I think today was a little bit more extra. And so I feel like I need to take a step back also and think about my own personal life, which I think is very interesting too. So,
and by the way, I do this all the time. Like there's no, you do it once and you stop. You've got to, I actually took a couple days off this week and next week to like reassess my goals, reset, journal, write, like think. Because when you're just like doing the same thing over and over again, you just don't stop to like know what direction you're going into. So 100%. We all have to do it all the time.
Well, today was Mona KEF Connect with Aida, and this was the final episode of the Money series. So I want to thank you so much, Mona.
Thank you for everything.
Money.
I love you. I love you so much.
And thank you to KEF Connect.
Thank you.
We shall see you soon.
Thank you so much.